First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm so excited to be here for another one of these conversations, chats, and today I have as a special guest Sarah Ellen, who is an herbalist. You are a conference organizer, the moderator on the Podbean podcast, Ask Herbal Health Expert Susun and just a championer of the wise woman tradition and all things wonderful. So thank you for being here today. I'm super excited to talk about all things creativity, herbalism, plants, and yeah. So maybe before we begin, if you want to give a little introduction yourself, because I know this facet of your life, but maybe there's something else you want to introduce to us.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. And thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to be here. I'm super grateful to get to share some time with you and, yeah, open up about just whatever's flowing. And a little bit about me is I was born and raised in Florida, and I'm happy to be recently relocated back here in Florida, a different part of the state than where I was born, and raised. And it's been just a tremendous coming home to place anyway, because I'm very inspired by the landscape here of Florida.
Mhm.
Um, what generally I do on a daily basis is tend to our little homestead here. That is what drew us back, and really the waters of
Mm.
Florida, not so much the coastal waters, but the inland waters, um, are really magical to me.
Yeah.
So my primary thing is just my life is my work is my life,
Mhm.
and not trying to break anything apart and segment. Well, now it's time for this, and now it's time for that. Yes, in terms of tasking, but not in terms of purpose and vision. So
Mhm.
the more I've been able to bring all of the avenues of choice into my life to be
Mhm.
congruent and each kind of serve and lend to each other, the more harmony and just beauty I find in my own every day. So
Mhm.
that's the backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you were living in another part of the States and now you're back in Florida. And I think that you are surrounded by like lakes and water and like inland water, like you said. Like Florida has a lot of fresh water, which is really beautiful. Yeah, and you have a little homestead and you have animals too, don't you?
Do have animals. We have a
Mhm.
plethora of tended animals outside.
Yeah.
So the tended animals that we keep outside are goats. Although since moving to Florida, uh, we have not been prioritizing the homesteading with the goat so much. So since moving here, I have not even milked a goat. It's so hard for me to say that, because in
Wow.
Illinois, we spent so much time looking for a homestead where we could have goats and do the milking, and I could try my hand at cheese, and we could incorporate all of the benefits. And since we've been to Florida, really the goats have been humongous helpers in soil building, because they're always providing that. But I
Mhm.
just had to be realistic. There wasn't time to get settled like we needed to, because where we moved, there was no stalling, there was no fencing, and we were coming down from Illinois with a herd of goats.
Yeah.
So we have at this point 9 goats, and we did move them all down from Illinois, which was a fun experience. I was not willing to trailer them, so we learned about how to do all of that and hired someone else to bring them and the load of chickens down. I will say there are not many chickens left from the original Illinois journey, because, in addition to our tended animals, we live in a really blessed be. It's like a wild scrub hammock mixed with an oak hammock. So there's also pines. It's kind of like a place in Florida where different microclimates come together.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of wild nature here, including hawks and owls. So, yes, the hawks and the owls have become a part of pretty much regular life here, and they definitely know how to pick up chickens.
Mhm. Mm.
And yes, I've been told silver box here, and I do believe it now because one of them did get in and get a rooster. So the
Mhm.
like Susan says, she's such a wonderful teacher of homesteading. It's life and death farm. It definitely is, especially when it comes to chickens.
Absolutely, absolutely. And bringing like those animals with you from Illinois to Florida and having them there, like obviously it's a different climate, it's a different landscape, there's different
Mm-hmm.
predators and everything there. So it's just like a learning experience and getting to the flow of things where you are.
Yeah, and here's one that totally tripped me up. What, okay, wouldn't you think feeding goats in Florida would be pretty easy, especially
Mhm.
relative like to Illinois?
Yeah.
And no, it is not true. The hay here, it gets trucked in from northern states or western states because they can't bale the hay in Florida. I think I've said this on Susan's
Because
show
of the
before.
humidity.
Yes. So learning a lot because we tried our hand at some of the Florida feed that can be baled here, and
Mhm.
our goats would not have it. It was just nutritionless grass to them. They wanted nothing of the Bahia or the coastal. So yeah, keeping goats here is very different than
Mhm.
Illinois. And it's great though. It's just like anything else, the same but different.
Exactly, exactly. And so this little YouTube channel on the internet is where I come to talk about like knitting and fiber. But in every one of my little podcasts, I always talk about an herb or a plant or something. And so I feel like there's a connection between fiber art and crafting and herbalism. And probably there's lots of herbalists who like to work with fiber or some creativity with their hands, and lots of fiber artists who are interested in the plant world and everything. So I was just curious if you have any creative endeavors besides making herbal magic
Well,
and
I will
working with the
say
soil and everything.
yeah. So one thing, I don't have like a dedicated start to finish, generally creative endeavor. Very rarely. However, that doesn't mean that I don't have creative endeavors because almost everything I do is kind of like outside the box, which to me, like other people might call it creative, but it is just creating with what is.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that is just so much, there's so much information and so much personal wisdom gained in that space of just like inviting the creative into my like literally everything. So like I'm always playing with herbs, like how can I work with them differently? My dogs and cats especially give me extra space and inspiration and opportunity for that. So I can definitely share about two plants. If you'll remind me, I'll share about slippery elm and Biden's alba in that regard. And then like the garden and the yard, I don't like to really call it a garden. So I generally call my place, for lack of like trying to sit down and come up with it, it's like the tidy wild. So I
Wow.
want it wild. And at the same time, I do need to have evidence that I have a slight hand in the goings on there. But a
Mhm.
very slight hand because everything else is full time and I'm very part time compared to what's growing. So
Exactly.
I defer to that, and then I plug in where I can. So, in Florida, everything is different.
Mhm.
Growing food in Illinois was very easy. So, getting creative with Florida gardening is really fun for me because people talk about it's very sandy soil, and even getting
Mhm.
compost to hold in the soil.
Yeah.
And even in often, like when I part timed at an organic farm way back, there was a lot of plastic used like on the base of things, to hold things together. Or at any rate, the garden offers me so many opportunities to look at what nature is providing to
Mhm.
solve the problem. So for me, and it seems to be really working well and it's free. And then I learned something else. So I cut the head of a palm frond. You know what a palm frond looks like, right? It's huge, like big palm frond, right?
Yeah.
So you cut them off normally to trim them, and there's always an excess of them. So in trimming the palms, I realized, let me cut just the palm part off and lay those down as the matting for the bed. So that then when I put the compost on top, the sand doesn't eat it because it's almost like the sand literally like, where's the compost? It's gone.
Yeah.
And so this has been the most awesome natural bedding. And so for me, like that's creativity in the garden. And then that lent itself to, oh my gosh, why am I buying stakes for the garden? Because what I'm cutting off the palm heads are perfect stakes and they're free. So I don't have to buy plastic stakes for the garden because I'm always looking for ways to eliminate creating waste in my process
Mm-hmm.
of whatever
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing. So I would say, yeah, just that's really where my creativity goes. I also have had the opportunity to mentor someone a few generations younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been a tremendous engagement of
Wow.
creativity. And I think like any community space and in bringing myself into spaces in my community that are already here all around me, but
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't normally come into on my regular course of work unless I sought to be somewhere, more engaging in like the next ring of the spiral, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I love like just catching threads of community to get
Mm-hmm.
sparked on where to go and where to put my current, like I've talked with Susan, like this is my currency. And I really seek to work with this, my heart currency and that current as much as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautiful. And so you're mentoring someone as in like herbal studies.
No, not at
No.
all. It's so beautiful. He is a college student at a local college for anyone who has different learning styles and or different, I don't like to even call it neurodivergence because if I think you can be entirely divergent. Like, why do we just have to make it all about our brain? Like, let's just
Yeah.
open this up because don't we all need some divergence? I think like life has been too narrowly scripted for a long time. So, like, yeah, I've learned that this is like a beautiful divergence, a divine divergence that a lot of these younger generations are bringing in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't at all change the capacity or the overall, ability and certainly not what the heart is capable of. So I have learned so much in this opportunity. And while
Awesome.
I'm not mentoring on herbs, um, more just how to
Exciting.
be a successful student and whatnot, I'm fortunate in that the study is around the connection between human and animals. So the major is the new one called anthrozoology.
Oh, wow.
And it is a fascinating deep dive for me. I feel like I have been gifted from, like Susan calls them, the charms, just like grandmother growth, as I call the imaginary being that spins all of our threads into magical tapestries if we're willing to allow that flow of looseness of the yarn or the thread. Um, yeah, I feel like this was really gifted to me because it's expanding me in so many ways. Yeah, like so many
Exactly.
ways. Yeah.
And to be working with someone like in this way and looking at biology, animal science, anthropology, I feel like even there, like everything is woven together. Like you're probably talking about herbal medicine in some way. Like, and I love what you talked about before about like the creativity of using what you have around you and trying to avoid waste and like solving one problem with creativity. Like we use creativity every day, like when we're cooking, when we're cleaning the house, when we're talking to our friends, like everything is a creative process. So that's awesome. Very, very nice. And with the plants, like when did you, because now you're working as a moderator for the podcast with Susan Weed, which if y'all who are listening don't know Susan Weed and like the Wise Woman tradition, like it's an amazing podcast where you can call in on Tuesday nights and ask your questions about your health, ask questions about life, ask for advice, like share your stories. Like it's a really beautiful space. I'm always like, that's so cool that you ladies are there every Tuesday. Like it's for me, I think it's the consistency also, which inspires me. But yeah, so you are there on Tuesday nights, and my original question was, how did you get into herbal medicine in the first place? Like, how did you start this herbal path?
Mm, yes. So that is, I think it's, I do believe looking back, I was destined to find it so long as I allowed the finding
Mhm,
to happen. So for me, I put down what I was told I needed to do, which
mhm,
was after college, get a job, find
mhm,
success, climb that specific type of ladder and
Mhm.
show the world what you can do.
Mhm.
And that was not working for me. So I left finance when my husband had an opportunity to expand his career path. We ended up choosing to go to Illinois. And my deal in that was, okay, I get a restart if we do it, because I don't want to do this there. And it was like, great. So that's what we did. And when I got to Illinois, the world of plants showed up too. I mean, we arrived in the middle of winter, so it didn't show up immediately. But that spring, like as everything woke
There.
up,
It was
yeah,
waiting for you.
exactly. So I woke up to the world of plants really that spring because, again, being a native born in Florida, I was just used to seeing green all the time. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of the same green. There's not a whole lot of pops of color because the
Mhm.
flowers here are a lot smaller oftentimes. Um, and it's just very different. So when I was in Illinois, and it was like a symphony of newness, and I was seeing everything with fresh eyes, and it was they were calling to me. It was like I had to know them, and I was simultaneously engaged in volunteer work, walking rescue dogs. So, you know, I was walking by the same plants every day, 3 or 4 times on these walks, and I was watching the dogs engaging with the plants. And then I had some issues of my own where medicines weren't working for me personally because my body doesn't tolerate them well. I have a lot of pharmaceutical allergies and interactions. So
Mhm.
when I was having some issues with sciatica and migraines, I thought, let me go beyond just the supplement world because I had read a book of an herbalist. It was not Susun, but it was an herbalist named Matthew Wood. And
Mhm.
I realized he was nearby. Like he was in Wisconsin. Like I could meet the person who wrote this book, and there's actual herbal conferences where I could go and learn like hands on. So that's how it started for me. And then
Mhm.
I had the choice about a year later when I went to my first weekend long herbal conference. Um, I didn't know it was going to be such a choice, but I was there. I had the opportunity to see 2 different herbalists give long half-day presentations. One was um, Hoffman, and one was Susan Wheat. And
Mhm.
I entirely thought that I was going to go the route of clinical herbalism and knowing all the thises and that's and whatever. And after the end of that weekend, I realized absolutely not. This is more than just a dissection
Mhm.
of parts.
Mhm.
And this is actually what I've been looking for my whole life, which is a way to be fully confident in my own autonomy.
Mhm.
And the plants are inviting me to this. So I was all in after it was February 2014, after that first 3-day herbal conference, and just having it all come together. And so, yeah, that's when I sent my letter off to Susan and went up to her place that summer and started really getting involved. Yeah.
So did you spend the whole summer there or did you do?
No. Oh, you haven't heard about my journey with Susan?
No, no, maybe,
Oh, okay.
maybe I have, but no, I don't think I heard that.
Yeah. So I went up there with the intentions of doing a 2-week apprenticeship.
Okay.
And then it was Sunday night, and my apprentice graduation was on Tuesday. And
Uh-huh.
then I left on Sunday night and I
Okay.
didn't come back.
Oh.
And I left. I went to her and I told her, you know what? I'm leaving. I was wrong. I'm not to be your apprentice right now. I'm to be your student. And, I'm going to go home. I'm going to keep listening to you on the radio and all these things. And she accepted that. And I left and I did all of those things. I continued on as a student and I listened every week to the podcast. And really, in that moment, for me, what it was 2 weeks wasn't enough. Like, I realized that if I went there and just like accepted a validation of being initiated as her apprentice, that it would be too easy for me to just be like, check, stop, walk away, and not really claim my own power. Like, I'm inspired by everything Susan offers. And that's why I'm so grateful to still be such a close witness and close
Mhm.
integration of what she is putting out in the world. Like you said, the consistency that she offers, that she brings to the work that she puts out, and just that she spins is amazing. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I'm still not a graduated apprentice. Maybe one day I will be, but I needed the long road. That's usually my path. There's a song called 13 Times, and it's like, if you give me a dozen tries, I will take 13 tries. That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
And I think it is about that, like circling back to creativity or spiraling back to it. It's
Mhm.
um the journey is what it's all about. It's not just the destination. There's many destinations that may seem like way stops along the journey, but it's all a part of the big flow of my life. And so I just wasn't ready for it to end. I did not accept graduation. And
Wow.
then I did tell Susan that we had I had a telling of that in a talking stick years later when I saw her in a public space. And
Mhm.
the talking stick came around, and I felt like, in order to be authentic, I need to make sure, like, I don't seem like a newbie to this circle. And she knows, like, we've shared space before. And so it was just a beautiful time. I felt so accepted in her
Mhm.
presence when I came back after not graduating as her apprentice. She's such a beautiful human being in the way she will continually open and share herself. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's beautiful. And so 2014, you said was the first time you went to an herbal conference. So like, but even before that, I feel like the herbs are like always in our path. And like you said, there's something, I don't know if it's divine timing or just like in life, sometimes we are brought one direction and then the other, and we just have to keep like following what shows up for us and what feels right and everything. But very interesting. And so I was wondering about the herbal conference because in the knitting community, we also have like, I've never been to an herbal conference, but that I know I've been to knitting events and you were talking about the journey and we have the Camino de Santiago where we walk across the north of Spain with other knitters and it is all about the process, even knitting and creating things like you get more out of the process than the final destination. But I wanted to ask you about these herbal gatherings and everything. So maybe the one that you went to in 2014, and I think you've been to others, and I'm curious, are you going to Chile in
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I'm not sure if I'm going to Chile. I would love to. I am definitely the kind of person who makes plans at the last
me too,
minute.
me too. Maybe see you there.
There we go. So yes, there's a possibility of that happening. But I have not made any like steps to actively planning it, but
Okay.
it's on the radar.
Which is
Um,
like the beauty of being in community with other people who understand our passion and stuff for these things is
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I did just also find out last week that I think my niece is looking maybe to spend some time and a year off after college in Chile. So, if things start along that type of thing where little breadcrumbs start coming together, you never know. Might
I don't know. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
I love it. We have to make it happen because it sounds really beautiful. So what we're talking about is like an herbal conference that will take place. Maybe not even an herbal conference. It's more of like a women's conference, right?
I think, yeah, even just like an earth women's tending of the earth, and
What we
yeah,
love.
honoring of grandmothers conference,
That
certainly.
sounds great. And it's in Chile, which I think is amazing. I think last year was in Mexico.
Mhm.
So very interesting. And for any of you here, because a lot of people watch my videos from Latin American countries or from Spain. So
Yes.
there'll be a lot in Spanish as well.
And
Um,
Luz Clara is the woman
Luz
who
Clara.
Luz
Mhm.
Clara, yeah, her
Yeah,
website is there in English and in Spanish. And
awesome.
last year in Mexico it was 13 grandmothers from all over the Americas. So I'm not sure how she'll put it
I will,
together, but her website's beautiful. So you can check out
I will
Luz Clara.
leave information down below so that people can go check that out. Yeah. And while we're talking about conferences, so you have been moderating and helping put together these beautiful herbal conferences every late spring, no? And this year we are going to do the Nettle Conference. So I wanted you to maybe just talk to us a little bit about that and tell people how they can get involved or how they can come and what it is.
Oh, sure, definitely. So Susan is as you probably know, Nicole, dedicated to the simple way of working with
Mhm.
plants in terms of one plant at a time, so you
Mhm.
can really develop a relationship with the plant. And she has taken that into what she's offering in the terms of virtual conferences. So
Mhm.
as you said, now going back to the first one, Nettle will be 5, and Comfrey was the first 5 years ago. And
Here it comes.
Hypericum, red clover. Last year was linden and the slippery sisters. And now we're going to be doing nettle this year.
Mhm.
And so really it's an amazing opportunity. It is virtual,
Mhm.
so born in the space really that the need for people to have disconnection in the physical came about in 2020.
Mhm.
Was the opportunity to kind of lean into the virtual space, and Susan
Mhm.
hasn't looked back. So rather than the physical conferences, which are also amazing, these are all online, and they're contributors from all over the world.
Mhm.
So each year has been a different host of presenters, but at the same time, some of the presenters have threaded through all of the conferences. And it's just a phenomenal space to take very deep dive
Mhm.
into a single plant.
Mhm.
And the way that the information comes together, there's always just the piece of charm or serendipity that is the invisible, you know, it's invisible, but like how Susan talks about setting the work, and that's the
Mhm.
most important piece of the work. And you can't go without it. And somehow I feel like that warp is set by all the energy that's put into the conference and the threads. It's just the way it comes together every year. It's like there's an invisible heart, hand, being, something ingredient that is working these conferences. And so for
Mhm.
me, that's been as exciting as the deep dive of the plants, because
Mhm.
the plants for me have really been an opening into the wow and the awe of everything.
Mhm.
So um, these conferences have allowed me to really be immersed and like take part in that, because it comes
Mhm.
alive over the space of the 7 to 10 days. So if anyone wants to be involved, we're no longer looking for presenters this year. However, we are looking for shorts.
Mhm.
So 30 seconds to like 5 minutes, you could make it as long as you want. But if you send in one, two, however many shorts you want, only need to send in one and you'll get free conference registration. So the shorts are tremendous because that just helps the dive go even deeper. For me, like the shorts are the little pockets of air that you get along the way so your dive can go even deeper into where you're going, because they're anecdotes and sometimes even like new splashes of wow, what? Or just seeing the beauty of someone putting the plant into the moment with them. Like I remember last year, the seaweed bath that someone shared in a short was just so enchanting. Like I wanted a bathroom setup just like that. And it wasn't like a luxury bathroom, it was just simple and dark and candlelit. And you could see the seaweed glistening in the tub. It was just, oh, so inviting. And she was in the middle of winter enjoying that. So it was even like, yeah, the conferences are in their own way a magical space. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that will be in May of this year of 2026. So if anyone wants to participate, like Sarah Ellen said, you can send in a short, you can send in a video talking about maybe your experience, some anecdote with nettles, which we love nettles. We love drinking nettles. We love spinning fiber of nettles. We just love nettles so much. So, and if you want to come to the conference, it's really beautiful because you have all of these live Zoom sessions with all of the presenters. So it's a whole week long and you can ask questions to people. You can have like direct contact and it's really fun. So anyone who's interested, I will also, I don't know if there's like well, people can't buy tickets to enter the conference yet, but I will leave like your information down below if people want to send shorts, or is there a website for sending in shorts?
You could go to susanweed.com or the wisewomanbookstore.com, I believe
Okay,
it is.
great.
And I think the easiest way to get it is on her Facebook page, because constantly, weekly now, we'll be putting up links for the shorts and also
Perfect.
for recipes. And those could be food recipes or hair tonic recipes
Mm.
or dye recipes for fiber. Whatever you want to share. It could be a video short, or it could also be a written process that you want to share for the Nettle Kitchen or the Wise Woman Kitchen section.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple ways to get free entry, and I would definitely say Facebook, Susun Wheat's Facebook page is the easiest way to be able to contribute, and then also be alerted when the conference goes live. And Nicole, you'll also have your own link for
Mm-hmm.
that, so you'll be able to provide that once the
Perfect.
conference dates are set. Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm very excited. And so speaking about nettle, I am constantly telling all my friends, all my family that they must be drinking their nourishing herbal infusions. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about nourishing herbal infusions, which people can investigate. It's basically just a strong brew of a nourishing herb, not an herb that has like a strong smell like chamomile or mint or anything, but one of these herbs that have a lot of protein, a lot of minerals, a lot of amazingness to nourish us and to make us healthier. And so I just wanted to talk to you about nourishing herbal infusions, so it can be another voice talking about these things that I think are so easy to incorporate into our daily life and have such a positive benefit for everything. So.
Yes, yes. Well, the infusions for me, they'll always hold a special place because, they're a daily way of nourishment for my body.
Mhm.
And beyond that, on a daily basis, though, they'll hold a super special place because that was one of the things Susan presented on at
Mm.
that first herbal conference.
Oh, yeah.
So when she presented on that, she shared about nettle and oat straw,
Mhm.
and she primarily focused on those two. And it was the first time that I knew I needed the actual herb in my hand, and that I wanted to prepare something for myself rather than buy a tincture or even a tea bag. So everybody, of course, right after she finished, ran to the marketplace tent, and I think I got the last bag of oat straw. There was no more nettle, but I was able to go and make my oat straw infusion for the first time. So that was really like the of that moment. And so since then, I'm a regular, and I'm actually almost depleted on ball jars because infusions are also a great way to connect with others. So I give away ball jars a lot, and I'm kind of like almost out of quart jars. I got to go buy some more. But also, I don't always use the quart jar method because we make them for my husband. My husband and I make
Mm.
them together. So
Mhm.
sometimes we just do the tight fitted lid method, and um, but infusion. So yeah, dry plant weighed out an ounce at a time of a single herb, unless it's like a rare case like linden where it's only half an ounce because it's so light and fluffy. But yeah, the infusions for me, it's just a daily connection to the plants and
Mhm.
to those who are growing the plants, because in this case, like you said, it is a large amount of herb. So it is a place where I engage in the marketplace and purchase plants from others that are already dried and properly stored. And then it is just such an easy method to be able to receive the nutrition that for years I tried to get out of supplements, and knew I really just didn't feel, I still felt helpless. Like that was the underlying crux of it all. And I
Yeah.
think for me, the nourishing herbal infusions, like I like that helplessness feeling went away. Like I
Mhm.
knew I could do it for myself. And like that they were providing what I needed so that I could do for myself, I guess, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like I tell people, like when I drink nettle infusion, that one most specifically, like
Yeah.
I feel like the plant that's kind of like bent over and it needs water, and then it like stands up like right before your eye, like that I can feel the nettle doing that. Like I can
Mhm.
sometimes see color within like the 2 hours after drinking nettle infusion. Like I just think it potentiates my senses in such a way that I know that my body is getting deep nourishment from what this plant is offering. And it goes with all the infusions for me. I mean, I love them all. I do have some that I tend to prefer over others. And I sometimes incorporate some that aren't on the rotation of 5 and things like that, like hawthorn. I mix the leaf and the berry and make an infusion out of that. The astringency really doesn't bother me. I do a cleavers infusion sometimes, and
Mhm.
that's really nice. Um, yeah, and then sometimes I try to find ways to get infusions, offer them to others without necessarily directly offering them because they are food. So I'll use a nettle infusion as the base of a chili.
Yep.
And that way, it's an ingredient in there. There's a flavoring in there. And it started for me with astragalus because when I've been to Susan, she'll incorporate astragalus into things like hummus or into a stew, or it adds a richness to the flavor. So I thought, well, why not an infusion? And so that's, not my typical way of drinking them, but I do try to get creative on ways to incorporate them. So like, or even using it as the water for rice or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
My secret ingredient, or what I always add when I'm making bone broth or like, yeah, bone broth with chicken or chicken soup, is burdock root. Like I love the burdock root in the soup, like having it cooking on the fire like all day, like it brings out a really nice flavor. And I'm like, that's the secret ingredient. That's why the soup is so good because of the burdock in there.
I'm going to try
Oh my
that
God,
because
it's so good. It really is.
I bet it would be great in a soup. It was too overpowering for me in an
I don't
infusion. My
like it.
husband loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does not care for the astragalus root infusion though, and I love
Mhm.
that one. So it's
Mhm.
interesting. Everybody has a little bit of different taste, but some of them are
Absolutely.
just so neutral and so refreshing that I don't really find any of them off-putting. The comfrey is a little slippery, but I do Susan's little trick. I put rosemary in. She does bergamot, but just a
Mhm.
little pinch of rosemary takes the slipperiness out. It's amazing how, I can see even more. Again, working with the infusion hands-on, it's like baking a cake yourself versus buying one at the bakery. You really can't. It's a different experience of knowing the cake. If
Mhm.
you your whole life only bought the cake at the bakery, there's so many opportunities in the process of making the cake for the cake to be a little bit this or a little bit that. And the same thing can be with how anyone chooses to enjoy their infusions. Because I personally would never do like a hot comfrey or nettle, but some people like that. They like them
Yeah.
warm with honey or something like that. So
Mhm.
as long as you generally brew the herb alone by itself, outside of that little pinch of something, maybe here or there, um, there's a lot of things you can do with the infusion afterwards and still enjoy it besides just drinking it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, and like you said, like rather than buying the cake made, like you are making it and you're enjoying the process and you're doing with what you want. And I'm thinking about knitting, like rather than buying the sock, you're making the sock. So every little part of the ingredient is there, and there's so much joy in that. So so yes, nourishing herbal infusions, like you can look it up and find more details, but basically it's that. It's just making a strong brew that I leave it overnight to brew, and working with like super nutrient dense herbs like nettle, like comfrey, like red clover, like linden, like hawthorn. You can have oat straw. Um, yeah, I even make like Schisandra sometimes, or hibiscus, but just like always something, and kind of just every day I choose one. And like you said, like the plant, like the wilted plant, like standing up again, like I don't know. I don't know if it's in my head, but I don't think it could just be in my head. I really think that I have like it's like if you're like taking multivitamins all the time, which I don't like that idea because who's making those? What is this business? They're giving them to you in a pill form. I don't like you're drinking something that's just lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it's so accessible because really, like,
so much
I
cheaper.
don't know if it's true, but I've been told by someone that, like, when they empty the portalets, there's so many undigested supplement, like pills in there. So you don't know if you're consuming something in pill form, if it's going to be fully absorbed first of all, even from its physical form into your physical form. And then, even if your body breaks its physicality down, does your body absorb it and get it to the right place in the right way? And I feel like the nutrition from the infusions,
It's
they just,
food. It's
Yeah, your body knows just what to do with it. I think I've heard Eagle Song refer to it as like, and Susan as well, the original keys. It's like the key to your front door. If you have
Mhm,
the original key, it generally opens really smooth. But if you're working on a triplicate key or a fourth copy key, you kind of have to jiggle the key in the lock in order to get it to open.
mhm,
And so when they're talking about the infusions and the minerals available in them, I've heard Eagle Song referred to them as original keys. So our cells, when they see them, when they come in contact with them in our body, it's like the front door receiving that original key to the lock, where it's like, oh, it opens with ease and the nutrient is delivered right into the cells. So the infusions have not just amazing nutrition in them, but the capacity to deliver it, and our body has the capacity to willingly receive it. So it's really, yeah,
mhm.
primary number one.
100% agree. And I'm just thinking this morning, I was talking to a friend who told me she wanted to start knitting. And I was like, I will help you. Like, I'm so excited. Like, let's go get some yarn. Like, I will teach you whatever you want to learn. And I think that as knitters, we want to teach everyone about that. And the same thing happens with herbal medicine. Like, if anyone is listening to this and slightly curious, like, send me a message. I will talk to you for days about herbal infusions. Like, you can, like, if anyone's interested, like, I'm like super happy just to help other people because I think the more people who are like nourished and happy and healthy, society is a better place,
So
right?
agree. And I think there are so many happy surprises for each individual in the infusions because, I'm not a scientist, but I am a living human being having experiences. And I will say that I believe that there is an additional capacity in these infusions because they offer so many minerals. And when I do like check into scientific literature about this potential, there is evidence that says the minerals that we have in our body actually have a magnetic capacity of receiving information. So the more mineralized we are, the more capacity we have to be somewhat telepathic, intuitive, like in touch, multisensory with the world around us. So
Mhm.
being mineralized is more than just strong bones. And even if you look at a bone and the way it's built, the way the muscles are stacked, I mean, there's so much receivership capacity in our bodies. And I do think that the infusions really help to open that up. And, looking at another analogy that Susan will talk about is the sponge is the longest living organism on this planet, having survived all of the extinctions this far. And the way that it works is not by defending or blocking anything. Let it all in. And if you don't need it, let it pass through and keep what you need. And often I've heard her make that analogy extend into the infusions, that by providing all of the nourishment from the infusions, our body has what it needs to function wholly. And then anything else can just pass through because it's not craving and trying to grab on. Well, I'm starving. I have to get something from somewhere. I'll make do with the fourth key if I can't get the original. So by offering those original keys every day, I really have found that I'm learning more about my sensory capacities than what I thought they were. So check that out for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is, yeah, not a scientist, but I really do think that it is opening us up for like just giving us more strength to do things, more flexibility, more vibrancy, and that's just why not? Why not? And it's important to take care of ourselves in that way. So, other things I want to talk, I don't know. I love talking to you. This is so lovely.
Perfect. I
Um,
love talking to you too, Nicole.
yeah. What else? I wanted to ask you, a question that I like to ask people. I know we've been like mentioning Susan and all of her work, but I like to ask people also, like if there's anyone or any project or anything that's like inspiring you these days that you want to recommend to us that we can like look into. I don't know if something comes to mind, like any person or any project or something.
Um, well, I would say big picture first. I am generally inspired when I see anyone, regular people especially, and especially firsthand, just showing up
Mm,
authentically in difficult spaces, especially if they are able to offer kindness
mhm,
and like a grounded steadiness
mm,
and just present that. It can be the smallest of situations and seemingly inconsequential, but showing up and being present and observant and fully engaging if they notice something is needed really inspires me. It can be something as simple as an 8-year-old at the grocery store noticing someone in a cart that can't bend over well drop something, and they choose to engage it. Or that is very inspiring to me these days, because I feel like so many of us, we all have the choice. If we see something happening, are we just going to watch and see who handles it and what goes on? Or if we hear something happening, and especially when they are just the little things and it's not something, that you're having to grandstand about, but that I'm just witnessing this happen as real human beingness, that inspires
me. That's beautiful.
Yes, I love that. And I love the opportunity that exists for all of us to touch into that every day, because there are acts of beauty going on everywhere. And yes, choosing to tune into that inspires me, especially in tough times. Not ignoring the toughness, but knowing that the opportunity to walk in beauty is still there. And if that's all I can do, and be witness and appreciative of others willing to still do the same, that inspires me greatly.
That is
No.
so beautiful. That's so inspiring, like just you saying that and like noticing that that's possible for every human being, and like just with like a little act of kindness or a little act of like just presence and paying attention to other people around you, you can make a big difference. That's really beautiful. So thank you for reminding us, and everyone, remember that when you're at the supermarket or wherever
Anywhere.
in the
Yes.
world.
Anytime you see another human or animal or even yourself in the mirror, there is space for beauty, compassion, and wonder. Like, let it be
Mm.
awe,
Mm.
And yes, I just love that opportunity that we're each given in every moment. And all we have to do is remember and, source from here. I will also say, so the things that inspire me most are things that are generally driven from here. When it's not that monetized things aren't good, but for
Mm.
me, I am just super resonant when people are really coming without that monetary cape around them, and you just kind of have to come naked as who you are, and you're offering it naked as who you are, without that monetary cape. I'll put it like that.
Mhm.
And so a couple programs that I am really inspired by. I don't know much about this program, but the little bit I've heard about it is very inspiring to me. And I read their work, and I listen to some of their, I don't know if they call them testimonies, but they're sharings. And they use the acronym GRIP, GRIP, and it's for inmates in California prison, and Guiding Rage into Power is the name of the program.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So that has been an amazing, just, if I need inspiration, I can generally click in and watch some of those videos
Cool.
that they share. They're very raw, they're very honest. And then they do like weekly and monthly events that I think you can join into. I'm not in the California area. Otherwise it may be a program that I would be interested in, helping support directly. But another program that right now I'm finding very interesting is Susun indirectly kind of led me to it, because Susan often talked about Joanna Macy. And so finally, after hearing her talk about Joanna Macy enough, I was like, let me check into this. Who is Joanna Macy? And so when I did, I also came across an offering of a podcast club that, it's a podcast that's available free, called We
Mhm.
Are the Great Turning. And anyone can listen to this podcast, and then it's offered, without charge, or you can go into gatherings where you can pay a fee and have a formalized setting to share in like a podcast club, because these are very deep sharings. It's somewhat around environmental work, but it's also like the climate change going on inside, and the climate change, I think that we as societies and culture and beings on this planet, starting to realize that it's not power over, but power with. And it's a wonderful place to just collect seeds for yourself, and it's free online. I think you can listen to it on Sounds True. It might have its own website, but it's totally free. We Are the Great Turning podcast. And
Wow.
Joanna did pass away late last summer. So now listening to her voice is interesting,
Yeah.
because at first I listened to it before she had passed,
Yeah.
and now listening to it after her passing, it's an interesting experience.
Mhm.
And there's so much wisdom shared. She was a practitioner of Buddhist practices. I won't speak too much on her behalf because I don't know much about her,
Mhm.
but I know that she was informed by her practice with Dharma,
Mhm.
and so I see that come through a lot in the podcast, and it really I'm able to get a lot from that. So very inspired by that, and yeah, I think that's probably always Susan, of course, because as you said, I'm with her every Tuesday, and then behind the scenes, I see how fruitful and deep rooted she is in everything she does. So that is a constant inspiration to me, of
Mhm.
course. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to look into, I hadn't heard of any of those, so I'm going to look into them and leave links down below if people want to check out Grip or the podcast, and obviously Susan's podcast as well. And before we say goodbye, I wanted to ask you about where people can find you if they want to reach out to you, if they have questions about this conversation, or like, I don't know, if anything you want to share about things that are coming up in the future for you. Just let us know how we can get in touch.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. So at this point, I don't have a whole lot of things that I have publicly available for offering. It's more just my doings. But my husband and I are preparing to open the land that we are tending for foraging, hopefully. So I guess you can look in the future for things like that. We would like to do like connected times for people in this space, so that it's a shared space, and people can experience some bits of wild Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And for now, I would say the best way to connect with me is maybe herbshealinghelper@gmail.com.
Put it down
Um,
below.
sure, absolutely. On a limited basis, if you're in the Florida area, we're in Fruitland Park, which is pretty much in the center of Florida. We're in the Highlands. It's sugar sands mixed with oak scrub and pine forest, and a lot of freshwater aquifer springs. So if you're in this area and you want to come by and check out a little homestead in the works, you are welcome to check in with me that way at the Gmail address for now.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you, Sarah Ellen. I will leave all that down below. And I just hope that everyone has enjoyed this little conversation we've had and has gotten a little bit more excited about working with herbs and working with your creativity and finding ways just to brighten the world, and just to go out there, like to nourish ourselves so that we can go and be out there and do things and help people. And yeah, so.
Nature is always calling.
It is. Thank you so much, and we'll see each other in the next one. And I hope to see all of you at the herbal conferences. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Grace and gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.